Hello, and welcome to Winning Classroom Management, a web series designed to help you restore the joy of teaching. Today's web episode is on engagement. So, my name is Aaron Dafford. I'm an author, educator, coach, and trainer. And in this web series, we've been looking at the 4 keys to restoring the joy of teaching. If we want to win the classroom management game, we need belonging, relationships, engagement, and discipline. All 4 provide that solid foundation with which we can stack a heavy cognitive load. Today's episode is looking at that 3rd key, engagement. So, what does it mean to have engagement? Well, engagement is going to be very close to student motivation. Sometimes people use those 2 terms interchangeably, but they're really a little bit different. So first, let's dive into student motivation. What is it that actually plugs kids into learning? An easy way to remember that is the acronym CRAVE. We want kids to crave learning. And in the same way, there are 5 facets to student motivation, which in turn drive engagement. So students are motivated first when they have confidence. They ask themselves the question, can I do this? If they have a high level of confidence in the task, that's going to be more motivating. But if it is something that is extremely difficult, so imagine you gave a 4th grader a calculus textbook, they're probably not going to have enough confidence to attack the problem, and their motivation to continue in the task is going to be very low. It's just too hard. So if students feel like they can do something, their motivation is going to increase. Relationships are also extremely important. We talked about that in our previous web episode. But relationships, does this connect me with others? Students will do almost anything. They will walk barefoot through broken glass for a teacher that they like simply because the teacher that they have a relationship with asked them to do it. Students are also motivated to work if they get to work with friends that they have a close relationship to. The social aspect of learning is extremely important. So students are motivated when they have high confidence, but also when they have strong relationships. We like doing things for and with people we are connected with. So if it connects them with others, they're more motivated. The 3rd part of the CRAVE acronym is autonomy. Do I have to do this? Choice is very important for students. No one likes being told what to do. No one likes feeling controlled. At a very, very young age, students are putting their feelers out into the world and trying to figure out, how can I make choices? How can I be in charge? How can I do what I want to do? So when students have a little bit of choice in their task, so maybe the choice isn't you either can do this or not do this. The choice might be you can either do this first or you can do this last. Or you can do this here, or you can go over to the carpet and you can write on a whiteboard. Even if the choice is how to complete the task, not whether to complete the task, that level of choice is going to increase motivation. The 4th facet of motivation is value. Why am I doing this? If it seems pointless to a kid, if there's no purpose to it, then it's really not going to be very motivating. But if it's going to help them either increase like some type of personal skill that they're interested in, so maybe it's something that they have a lot of personal motivation to complete, like they want to learn more about something, so there's that personal relevance, or maybe it really is going to help them accomplish a goal, right? It's valuable because they're fighting for a scholarship. They might be an older student and they really want that GPA to go up, so they're going to accomplish the task, not because they really want to on its own merits, but because they need it in order to get a good grade. That's going to be motivating for some kids. And then finally, emotions. How do I feel about doing this? Emotions are the gatekeeper to learning, and when the emotions are high, when there's high interest, when there's positive happiness, joy, learning's fun. Learning is very motivating, but when students have negative emotions, when they're sad, they're angry, they feel rejected, they feel disconnected, they're just not into it. And so these 5 facets, they spell the acronym CRAVE: confidence, relationships, autonomy, value, and emotions. These are the 5 different ways that students are motivated. Now, Engaged students don't have time to misbehave. We need to keep that in mind here, because if we can tap into these 5 facets, if we can make sure that our tasks are leveraging their competence, their relationships, their autonomy, their value, their emotions, they are so engaged in learning. Misbehavior is not even a thought, because they want to succeed. They want to stay connected with their friends. They find the task inherently valuable. It's fun. They have choices. Misbehavior is not going to be an issue. A lot of times misbehavior comes from disengaged students, so you can eliminate that problem by simply engaging them. So engagement is 2 parts. We've talked about student motivation. So that's the competence, relationships, autonomy, value, and emotions, the crave. Now, the other half is the instructional design. That's where you as the educator make your choices with your certification, with your credentials, with your education. How do you design engaging instruction to leverage those 5 facets? So you take your lesson plan, you take your textbook, you take whatever you were supposed to teach, and you add those little flares, those little tweaks, so you can leverage those 5 facets. Right there on that intersection between the student motivation and instructional design, that's where engagement happens. So the students need to be plugged in because you leverage their 5 facets, and you need to make some intentional choices in how you design your instruction. And a lot of instruction does naturally include some of these things, but sometimes we need to be on the lookout. You multiply those 2, and you're going to get engagement. Now, with any multiplication sentence, if either of those 2 factors are 0, if you've got a 0 student motivation or a 0 instructional design, your product is still going to be 0. So both of those 2 factors work together to create engagement. So how can you learn more about engagement? I've written a lot about engagement. I've got a free 5-part webinar series that explores each of the 5 facets in more detail. You can get that on my website, aarondaffern.com/solving-student-engagement. It's actually my first book, and you can find a link to the book and to that Engaging 5 webinar series there. You can also find a much longer web series. It's a 20-part web series called Take Charge of the Classroom. That link that you see there, aarondaffern.com/takecharge, takes you to both a copy of the book and the free 20-part web series. Engagement is a small part of that, and then there's a lot more on top of that. So if you want to learn a little bit more about engagement, you've got 2 free options there as well. So how do we design motivating instruction? What are some steps that we can take? Well, first, scaffold your lessons. You want to give your students multiple entry points, multiple exit points, so that they all feel competent. Remember, competence is that first facet. It's the Goldilocks method. Can't be too easy, can't be too hard. So the one-size-fits-all lesson is really not going to fit every single kid. So think of your kids that struggle. How can you provide an extra layer of support so that they can access it more easily? For your high kids, how can you remove a layer of support so it's a little bit more challenging? That's creating multiple entry points. Exit points is think of how you want them to demonstrate learning. Maybe it's a problem set. Maybe you can let them demonstrate it by creating a one-pager or by creating a visual representation. There's many ways to show learning more than simply answering questions at the end of the chapter or answering every problem in the problem set from the math book. Create different choices that are at the same cognitive level, but different ways for them to show mastery. That's going to hit your autonomy right there, because that's going to give them choices. Providing leadership and choice. So we need to let students take control of some classroom functions. That's going to really hit that autonomy. Give them choices in how and where to complete the assignments, right? So if there's multiple things they need to do, let them choose which one to do first, second, or third. Give them choices as to where to seat. Flexible seating is very important. That's going to really increase that autonomy and just make them feel like they have some control. Even students at very, very young ages are trying to take control of their lives. And then finally, have fun. Bring the energy. Emotions are the gatekeeper to learning. So gamify your classroom. Now, it needs to be low levels of competition, right? If it's high levels of competition, you create winners, you also create losers, and that's going to decrease the emotions of some of your students if they are on the losing side. But just have fun. High energy, high emotions. Make learning hidden within the game so that they're having so much fun they don't even know they're learning. Those are just 3 different strategies. The free web series that on either the Take 5 or the Engage in 5 or the Take Charge, those are going to give you some other options as well. Remember, engaged students are so interested in learning that they forget to misbehave. So we can eliminate some of our behavior problems simply by having a more engaged classroom. Thanks for joining me here. If you have any other questions, you can reach out to me at aarondaffern.com or email me at aarondaffern@gmail.com.